Hello, welcome to another one of our daily devotional message on this rim of prayer. I was meditating and thinking about this afternoon or this morning, this evening, whenever it is that you are watching it. But at that point, I was thinking about it, and I was reminded of the story about a wealthy man. He had a servant. This servant who had worked diligently for all day after day. But one day, the servant was caught in a dangerous situation, and something took place where the wealthy man was able to save him by intervening. The master, knowing how loyal the servant was, he not only spared his life, but he gave him a generous reward for his faithful service. As time went on, about a week or so later, while he was out doing his duties, but there was another servant that asked him, how was he doing? The servant had quickly forgotten about all and how generous the master had been, this wealthy man had been to him, and could do nothing more than just grumble and complain about the work that the master, about everything about the master not giving him enough time off. Now, the servant seemed to have forgotten the grace shown to him, and he became very ungrateful. And that, when I thought about those things, that led me to think about even when it talks about this here in Philippians, this fourth chapter, as it talks about prayer at verse number 6. When you see it down at the bottom of the screen, it says, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. That phrase right there is what we're going to lift up. Let your request be made known unto God. That with thanksgiving, when I see that word with, it lets me know that this is something that should be accompanied with our prayer. This should be something that should be accompanied when our of times of going and asking God to supply our needs. These are things that we are to have whenever we approach God through prayer, through this intimate relationship that we have with Him, that it should come along with. That's what that really means with that word with, to come along with, to come alongside and be a part of. And what it is saying there is that word thanksgiving. When I thought about that, it reminded me of two different words in particular that word thanksgiving is comprised of: thanks and giving. And as you can see, the word thanks, it comes from an old English word. I'm not about to try to pronounce it, but what it really means is having good thoughts of gratitude, of thanksgiving, and a lot of different things that is attached and a part of that. I think about gratitude. I think about words like being thankfulness, having some appreciation and recognition of what has been done, having a good respect for and a really high regard of for something or for someone. And then not only that, but there's also the word that is also attached to it as well is the word giving. This word giving come from an old English word as well, which means to deliver or to bestow to someone. And so when I think about Thanksgiving, it is having good thoughts of gratitude, of appreciation that we are to deliver or that we are to be given to someone. And so when we think about this from this aspect, when we come to the Lord in prayer, we ought to have some good thoughts of appreciation. We ought to have some high regards when we think of Him that we are bringing to Him. And so let us govern ourselves according to that, that we do not become like the servant that quickly forgot about how gracious and how wonderful his master had been. For we serve a master that has been more than good to us, and we ought to always remember how good He has been to us, remembering that, and not only that, but delivering or bestowing or thinking about, considering with high regards of all the great things that He has done. So now, as we go through this, like when do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication. Along with that, bring along this sense of gratitude for the goodness of the Lord as you make your request be made known to God. May God bless you and may God keep you. That is my humble prayer.